I never imagined pretending to be a billionaire's wife would lead to a heartbreaking truth. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started with a knock on my apartment door. My heart raced, pounding against my chest like a frantic drummer. What if it was him? What if it was over? I had been living this wild lie for months, swept away into a world of glitzy parties and designer dresses. As I stood there, palms sweating, I remembered how it all began. I was a waitress, drowning in bills and dreams. Then he walked in, Chase, with his magnetic smile and money spilling from every pocket. He took one look at me and decided I would be his perfect faux wife. Our first outing was surreal. He whisked me away to a penthouse that overlooked the city, lights twinkling like stars below. I could hardly believe it. I slipped into a world where champagne flowed like water and laughter echoed off marble walls. We charmed each other, and a connection sparked. My heart dared to hope. Friends whispered envy in crowded rooms, imagining our fairy tale life, but secrets lurked beneath the glamour. Chase held dark clouds over his head. Late-night phone calls full of urgency. His eyes haunted by something he wouldn't share. My heart ached with curiosity, the weight of unspoken truths heavy in the air. I wanted to trust him, but the whispers of doubt slithered in that I plunged deeper into this deception, feeling suffocated by my own facade. The lavish dinners felt like a masquerade, a play I was destined to screw up. I could see the watchful eyes, the hidden cameras in the corners. Each smile hid a storm brewing just out of sight. One night, as I stood in front of the mirror, silk gown hugging my body, I noticed a letter slipped under my door. My hands trembled as I picked it up, my breath caught in my throat. The name on it wasn't mine. It was a name I'd never heard before. I felt a chill sweep through me, leaving a trail of ice along my spine. Why was it there? Who was the woman behind that name? What had Chase done? My heart raced. My blood ran cold. I stared at the letter, its paper thick and weighty, the ink dark and menacing. I could feel the walls close in around me, the world spinning out of control. I had to confront him. But could I handle the truth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door swung open before I could gather my thoughts, revealing Chase, looking every bit the part of the carefree billionaire. His eyes sparkled, their warmth like soft sunlight breaking through a dense forest. Yet, beneath that charm, I sensed a distance, a disconnection that sent a chill coursing through my veins. "What's up, beautiful?" he said, an easy smile stretching across his face. It felt rehearsed, as if he sensed my trepidation and was desperately trying to ease it. "Chase," I hesitated, clutching the letter like a lifeline. The weight of the unasked questions loomed over us both. I found something. His brow furrowed, and for a moment, I glimpsed the uncertainty in his gaze, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "What do you mean? Is everything all right?" I held the letter up, my fingers almost shaking as I pointed to the unfamiliar name scrawled across the top. "This came for me today." "Who is she?" A flicker of something, panic, sadness, frustration crossed his features before he quickly composed himself. "It's nothing, just a mistake. You know how business is." "Business?" The word felt like an accusation on my tongue. What business would involve someone else's name in my apartment? His laughter was hollow, a gust of wind that couldn't mask the shifting atmosphere. "Come on, it's all in the past, right? Let's not dwell on that. I was hoping we could celebrate our anniversary tonight. I've planned something special." I wanted to laugh, but the reality pierced too deeply. "Our anniversary? You mean our anniversary of this lie?" He stepped closer, his presence oppressive yet intoxicating. "You're not lying to me, are you? You're real, and we have something real. Just forget about that letter. Let's make tonight unforgettable." His attempt to sweep things away ignited my anger. Unforgettable? Chase, I can't pretend like this isn't eating away at me. I thought we were building something, but I don't know if it's based on truth anymore. Silence hung between us like a fragile thread. The lavish world around us felt suddenly kitschy, every painted smile revealing a hidden wound. "Breathe, Lena," he urged, running a hand through his hair, a gesture I had grown accustomed to during stressful moments. "Trust me, please. I care about you more than you know." A spark of kindness, a small ember in the cold of our distrust flickered to life. Yet, the nagging question of that letter made it hard to give in. I wanted to embrace him, to believe the warmth he offered, but an aching doubt held me back. "I need the truth, Chase. If you want me to trust you, you can't keep secrets." There it was, nightfall creeping in past the tall windows, dimming the opulence around us. His eyes flickered, and for a brief moment, he looked like a man overwhelmed. "Not tonight," he finally whispered, "tonight is about us. As the minutes passed, we both succumbed to the silence. I watched him pour champagne, the bubbles racing to the surface, mirroring the tumultuous feelings brewing within me. The room was adorned with beautiful roses, the scent filling my senses, serving as a stark contrast to the turmoil of my heart. Hope flickered as we toasted, but deep within, uncertainty raged like a storm. I took a sip, attempting to savor the moment, but all I could taste was the bitter tang of deception. Would tonight heal us, or would it drive a wedge deeper into the already fragile foundation we stood upon? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, pulling me from my thoughts. Chase's expression shifted. What was that? I dashed to the door, heart pounding again. Maybe it was someone else, maybe it was kindness, a rescue from my spiraling doubts. Instead, I found a young woman disheveled with tear-streaked cheeks, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "I need your help," she gasped, her eyes darting fearfully behind her. "I don't know what else to do." Chase appeared beside me, looking confused as he stared at the stranger. I felt an unfamiliar churn in my stomach, a sense of impending chaos that made my heart race faster than it ever had. Just moments before, it was just us, hanging on the brink of revelation, and now the arrival of this mystery woman shifted the tension into an electric charge, signaling that the truth was closer than ever yet remained hauntingly out of reach. Chase stepped forward, his brow furrowed in concern as he studied the young woman before us. "Hey, breathe. Just take a moment." His voice softened as he held out a hand, attempting to soothe the panic etched across her face. "Who are you?" I asked, my heart thudding heavily in my chest. The look in her eyes echoed my own turmoil, not just fear but a deep, unsettling sense of urgency, as if she held pieces of a puzzle that had yet to reveal itself. "That I am Emily," she managed, drawing unsteady breaths. "I know this sounds crazy, but I need to talk. It's about Chase." The air around us thickened. I could feel the temperature drop, the warmth of our previous conversation now feeling like a halved memory. Chase's demeanor shifted ever so slightly, the carefree billionaire facade faltering. "What do you mean it's about me? I saw you, okay? I saw what you did." Emily took a step back, shaking as if the weight of her words was almost too much to bear. "I thought it was just a rumor at first, but it's true. You're not who you say you are." Chase's laugh was weak, a mask over concern. "Listen, Emily. This is a misunderstanding. We're just having a private celebration," but the young woman persisted. "No, you don't understand. It's not just about you. It's about someone else too." I sensed Chase grow tense beside me, his body rigid like a coiled spring. "Lena, I think," but I cut him off, confronted by the realization that I had been trapped in a web spun with lies and half-truths. "What do you mean, someone else?" I turned my focus on Emily, desperation coiling in my insides. "Please, tell me what you know, please just listen," she pleaded. "My sister, she's been involved in all of this. You need to know the truth about everything. Chase, wait, he interrupted, his voice sharpened, a glimmer of vulnerability surfacing. How do you know my name? What are you really talking about? I know you've been lying. I've seen the paper trail, the money transfers. It leads back to someone you know, someone I'm connected to. Her voice trembled as she continued. It's about a woman named Clara. You have to understand, she's in trouble, serious trouble. My world came crashing around me. Clara, the name from the letter. As quickly as hope had ignited for reconciliation, it turned to ash in my throat. Chase, you knew, didn't you? You were hiding this from me. Who is she? Chase squeezed his eyes shut, pinching the bridge of his nose. The confusion and fear in his gaze were evident, but was it because he was caught off guard, or was it a true reflection of guilt? Lena, please, he sighed, this isn't the time, but there was no denying the betrayal coursing through my veins. The truth is all I want from you, Chase. Have you been deceiving me all along? Holding me hostage in this fairy tale while a real nightmare plays out somewhere else? Emily caught her breath, tears glistening in her eyes. Chase, we don't have time. She's in danger. You have to choose whether to keep running or to help. The words hung heavily, the gravity pushing down on each of us. Chase stepped back, his hands trembling as he processed the weight of her revelation. In that brief moment, I saw the true man beneath the billionaire costume, a man caught in a storm of his own making. That I never wanted any of this. I thought I could escape, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Escape? I echoed, feeling a shiver of realization grip me. What are you running from? Suddenly, the enormity of the situation washed over us. A loud thud echoed from the hallway outside, pulling my focus back to reality. What was that? I choked, fear twisting in my gut. Chase grasped my arm tightly, his grip possessive and yet steering me toward the door. Stay back, he commanded Emily, his voice low. We need to figure this out. As he opened the door cautiously, a figure appeared at the threshold, a man dressed in dark clothing, his expression shrouded in shadows, exuding an aura of danger that felt palpable even from a distance. Chase, he said, glancing at me before meeting Chase's eyes, laden with a tension that spoke volumes. It's time to settle your debts. My heart raced, every instinct screaming that whatever lies ahead would rip the fragile threads of our reality apart. Surrounded by uncertainty and unspoken revelations, I knew that a tempest loomed on the periphery of our lives, waiting to devour everything we thought it meant to love and to trust. The man's voice hung heavy in the air, laden with a sense of finality that sent shivers racing down my spine. Chase's grip on my arm tightened a fraction, and I could feel the muscles in his jaw clench as he stood there, staring into the darkness of the hallway as if trying to will the shadowy figure to retreat. Who are you? Chase demanded, a blend of anger and desperation cracking through his calm exterior. The bravado from moments earlier was all but stripped away now, and I sensed that behind his icy facade lay a trembling heart, the rhythm of which echoed my own. The man in the doorway chuckled, a low, chilling sound that reverberated off the walls. You know exactly who I am, Chase. You've been living in denial for too long. But that ends tonight. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of the chaos unfolding before me. Clara, the sister Emily mentioned, Chase's troubled past. This was all bigger than I had imagined. My voice came out faint and shaky. What do you mean, settle your debts? What debts? Silence, Lena, Chase snapped, but the impatience in his tone felt hollow next to the urgent beating of my heart. Emily's eyes widened with a mixture of fear and urgency as she stepped forward. You don't understand. He's not just here for Chase. He's here for Clara. You need to run. Before I could process her words, the man suddenly lunged forward, and I instinctively stepped back, pulling away from Chase. The sudden movement broke some unspoken bond, and I felt a sharp pang of betrayal at being treated like a possession rather than a partner. Chase, what is this? I'll explain later, he said, panic rising in his voice as he tried to block the dark figure from stepping any further into the room. That's the problem, Chase. You've had plenty of time for explanations, haven't you? The man sneered, stepping closer, his presence filling the doorway like an ominous storm cloud. Every instinct told me to flee. But just as I made the decision to leave, the tension shifted. "You don't want to do this," Chase said, his voice low but steady, as if he was leading a negotiation instead of a confrontation. "All those deals you've made, the people you've crossed, this is the point of no return. Clara's life is hanging in the balance, and you're still choosing to play house." The man's eyes glinted with malice. "But don't worry, they'll make sure she's taken care of. You just have to play your part." The world around me tilted as I felt the weight of those words. "What does that mean?" I breathed, my mind spiraling. "What do you mean by taken care of?" Chase's face paled. I caught the flicker of dread that crossed his features. "It's not what you think, Lena. I swear," he said, desperation now lacing his voice. Emily broke in, urgency cracking through. "This isn't just about Chase, it's about all of us. You don't have to stay here. We can find Clara together. You both can stop this." "No," Chase said, profile hardening, and my heart sank. That stubborn resolve that had drawn me to him now set him apart like an immovable wall. "This is my mess. And I won't put you in danger because of it, but this is bigger than you." I shouted. "You can't just bear it alone." "I want to help, then stay away from him," the man rasped, eyes narrowing at me, as he took another threatening step forward. "It's an ultimatum. Embrace the reality of his past, or walk away while you can." Panic overcame me, coiling tight like a snake around my heart. Everything about this felt insidiously real, like a spun web of fears and half-whispered truths. I noticed the shivering resolve in Emily's composure, and in an instant, remembered the letter I had yet to speak about, the one full of secrets and unshared burdens. "Run!" Emily screamed suddenly, darting for the door as she shoved past the looming shadow. "Go! I'll buy you time." Before I could react, the man reacted swiftly, reaching towards her, but Chase surged forward, pushing Emily out of the way, taking the brunt of the man's advance. In that coupled moment, adrenaline surged through me, and I hesitated, shock rooting me in place. "Chase!" It was an echo, a cry into the chasm of uncertainty that surrounded me. The tussle in the dim hallway seemed surreal as they collided, the room around us feeling like a kaleidoscope of desperate emotions and truths threatening to surface. Then I heard a sharp crack, followed by silence. All too quickly, I felt cold tendrils of fear creeping into my chest, stealing my breath. I dashed forward, desperate to peel back the chaos and see what had unfolded, and as I stepped around the corner, the reality of our tangled fates loomed closer. Chase lay on the floor, eyes wide, and blood seeping through his shirt. The darkness that gathered around me felt suffocating, as if the walls were shifting, closing in on the pain simmering beneath the surface. "Lena," he gasped, reaching out in a feeble gesture that spoke volumes. "I'm so sorry." The impending truth threatened to crash any semblance of hope I had held tightly to. Clarity and confusion entwined like a twisted knot as I looked back to where Emily had run, knowing all too well that life as we had known was morphing irreversibly into something fiercely fractured. And as I knelt beside Chase, panic gripped my heart. Would I be left to piece together the aftermath alone, or would the truth finally unearth what had been buried far too long? The echo of his last words hung between us like a frail thread, and all I could think was, would I love him enough to confront the darkness that loomed ahead? The light flickered, casting wild shadows that danced erratically across the walls as time seemed to slip through my fingers like wisps of smoke. Chase's breath came in ragged gasps, each one a reminder of the urgency clawing at the edges of my soul. His eyes, though filled with fear, were still as fierce and captivating as ever, a manifesto of everything we had shared and every secret we hadn't dared to voice. "Lena," he whispered, an echo layered with confusion and remorse that felt like a dagger to my heart. I could taste the bitterness of unspoken words on my lips, the urgency to forge a path forward tugging at my very core. "Stay with me, Chase. Please," I urged, the tremor in my voice matching the frantic thud of my heart. The coolness of the floor pressed against my knees as I tore off a strip of my shirt, desperately attempting to staunch the bleeding. My hands shook, not solely from fear, but the realization that this was just as much my battle as it was his. "You're going to be okay," I promised, searching his gaze for anything that would reassure me that we could still fight this together. "Clara. I should have protected her," he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper, each word wrapped in regret. "This isn't how it was supposed to be, Chase, focus on me," I pleaded, desperate to pull his attention from the brink of despair. My chest felt heavy with each fleeting breath he took, and I grasped his hand tighter, wishing my strength could mend him, could fix what was so irrevocably broken. "We'll find her, I promise. But you need to stay with me." There was a flicker of recognition in his eyes as he locked onto mine. "Promise?" It was simple yet layered with the weight of a million unsaid exchanges. "That I promise," I affirmed, my heart racing with fear and determination. "But we have to get out of here first." If the weight of my words summoned him back from the edge, he drew in a shuddering breath. "Lena, you don't understand. I can't let my past." "I'm done with your past, Chase," I interrupted, the rawness of my voice filling the air between us. "We are in the present, and this moment right now is the one that matters." I could feel the warmth of tears pooling dangerously close to the surface, but I could not let them spill. "Not now." We didn't have time for weakness, only fierce tenacity. That he swallowed hard, the shadows that surrounded him starting to dissolve as he tried to steady his breathing, my hand in his the anchor he needed. And just then, a soft moan echoed from the hallway, the haunting sound of Emily's voice filtering through the chaos, an unexpected glimmer of hope cutting through the darkness. "Chase." Came her voice, frantic but edged with an urgency that called us both. "I'm here. I'm coming, stay back." Chase forced out, his eyes flickering with a protective instinct that resonated deep within me. I could almost feel the heaviness of the words left unsaid, the truth looming between us like an uninvited ghost, but before I could decide to push him further, the man's laughter echoed again, dark and mocking, each note chilling the air around us. "Oh, this is rich. The little hero thinks he can rewrite his legacy with a few tender words." He stepped back into the dim light as if he owned every shadow, every breath of this broken place. "Tell me, Chase, have you really thought this through? How many more must suffer because you want to play the role of protector?" The tension thickened, enveloping us in his dread-filled aura. But then, suddenly, an unexpected interruption shattered the sinister atmosphere. The screech of tires outside, a cacophony cutting through the suffocating silence. That? Chase's voice faded, his concentration fracturing. My instincts kicked in, ushering me to regain focus amidst the unfurling chaos. "Lena!" Emily cried out, rushing to us as she stumbled into the room, breathless. "I found a way. It's now or never." Chase's eyes widened, understanding the urgency cresting within that frantic moment. "You need to get out. Hell come after you both." "No, we leave together," I demanded, the dawning realization that our escape depended on our unity amid chaos. "This isn't just your fight. I refuse to be a bystander in our lives anymore." But the moment was fleeting, his expression shifted, a yearning flaring in his gaze as if he recognized that together we could forge a new path. "You don't know what you're asking for," he murmured softly, and for one harrowing second, the familiar warmth of his love flickered beside the pain of his past, and that's when the door to the hallway burst open, slamming against the wall with a force that rattled the room. Uninvited, another figure emerged, the unmistakable silhouette of Clara, looking disheveled yet somehow resilient in the face of chaos. "The sound of clarity against doubt, Chase," she shouted, her voice laced with a striking clarity, pulling us from the brink of desperation. The air filled with possibility, yet the underlying tension remained thick as both joy and fear intertwined. Chase's gaze flickered back and forth between Clara and me, straddling the line of choices in ways that swirled around us like spirits seeking forgiveness. He let out a broken breath, his emotions battling in his eyes, a whirlwind of love, guilt, and fear, and then, abruptly, the man in the doorway took a step toward Clara, a wicked grin spreading across his face. Ah, the elusive sister! How delightful! Everything inside me ignited, a mix of raw anger and ferocity igniting strength I didn't know I possessed. "You touch her, and you'll have to go through me first," I shouted, adrenaline rushing through my veins, heart pounding like a war drum. Chase gripped my hand tighter as realization dawned, but the air buzzed with uncertainty, and roiling fear twisted deep within my gut. The truth lingered dangerously close. Would love really be enough to cut through the threads of darkness? Or would it tether us to a fate we could not escape? As the atmosphere thickened with fragments of hope and desperation, I couldn't shake the feeling that we stood at the precipice of something far beyond our control, together, right? I breathed, glancing at Chase, knowing that the answer we chose would seal all our fates. But in my heart, I knew the deep echo of fear had only begun to unravel, and as the shadow moved closer, I braced myself for the storm that lay ahead. The air was electric with unspoken words and emotions simmering just beneath the surface. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on us like a heavy storm cloud, threatening to unleash a torrent of chaos. Clara's presence brought a flicker of light, but the darkness remained, swirling around us in restless eddies. "Chase, we have to go." Emily's voice was frantic, breaking through the tension like a pebble dropped in still water. Clara hesitated, glancing back at me, uncertainty etched in her expression. I knew I had to be strong not just for Chase, but for everyone standing on the cusp of despair. "Clara, listen to me. You're safe with us. We can't fight divided." I could hear the desperation in my voice, masking the fear that clawed at me like a feral beast. Chase shifted beside me, his grip on my hand fiery yet unyielding, as if he could drain courage from my very soul, but Clara shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes, softening her hard exterior. "I can't. He will hurt you." The breath she drew was shaky, laden with the past that had chased us here, "not if we're a united front." Chase's voice was raw but firm, his fear for Clara intertwining with an unmistakable determination. "We don't retreat now. We keep moving forward, together." Another sinister laugh erupted from the doorway, causing all five of us to flinch. "So sweet, your little solidarity, but you'll find it much more difficult to protect each other once the web closes around you." The man's words dripped with malice, layering every ounce of tension in the room. "You think it's just me you're running from? Oh, how naive. Stop." Chase roared suddenly, the ferocity of his voice cracking like thunder in the suffocating silence. "This isn't just about me or Clara, this is about all of us." His eyes darted to Emily and then Clara before landing solidly on mine, igniting a resolve that burned hotter than any fear. I didn't understand what he meant, but my heart quickened at the fierce trust emanating from him. "You have to believe that we're stronger together, that even in this darkness, we can find a way to turn the tide." And though I remained scared, I adopted his fervent belief, ready to face the storm. Instinctively, I turned my face toward Clara, finding that fragile bond of sisterhood grounding me. We need each other to see this to the end. No more being pawns in someone else's game. Her eyes widened, and for a brief moment, the tension in the room cracked open like a flower blooming in the harshest winter. "Okay," she whispered, voice trembling yet laced with newfound strength. "Together we're stronger." As we began to circle one another, the hateful figure in the doorway recoiled, surprise mingling with a malevolent grin on his face. He never expected us to unite, to fight back with ferocity born of love and desperation. "Foolish children," he hissed, but in that moment of vulnerability, one edge of the plan fell into place. The screech of police sirens filled the air suddenly, drowning out his words. It was a sound that broke through the tension like a knife through silk. "The police," I murmured, gripping Chase's hand even tighter as a glimmer of hope sparked deep inside me. Chase's eyes sharpened with surprise and gratitude, and I felt the fragile thread of our unity tighten between us. "We have to split up." "Draw him away," he said urgently. No sooner had the words left his mouth than the plan unraveled as Clara moved, glancing back at me one last time. "I'll lead him away. Keep Emily safe." "Wait," I called, panic rising at the thought of losing either of them in the chaos. But there was a fierce glint in her eyes, drawing on strength I feared I lacked. "Count on me," she said fiercely, darting out of the room, directing the man's attention with quick, graceful movements. "Chase, what do we do?" I asked, breathless and unsure, as the shadows stretched, thick with uncertainty. Just hold on to me, he replied, anchoring me with a fierce gaze. Emily, stay close. But as we retreated toward the back exit, my heart sank as I noticed a flicker of movement behind Chase and Emily. A figure. Stepping out from the shadows, cloaked in darkness, a familiar power radiating from her as her laughter echoed sharper than glass. Did you really think you could escape that easily? It was Lena, the one person we thought we could trust, the past coming back to haunt us in ways we never anticipated. The chaos of emotions boiled over in an instant, the confusion of betrayal slicing through the fragile thread of hope. No, it can't be, I gasped, gripping Chase's arm harder. Chase's face paled, his expression one of pure shock. What is she doing here? The doorway to escape hung before us, the siren still blaring outside as clarity slipped away, replaced by a new, chilling fear. And just as quickly as she had appeared, Lena's eyes locked onto mine, revealing an inexplicable depth of knowledge that sent a chill down my spine. Don't you see? Love is a weapon, but so is betrayal, she said, and I realized with dawning horror that this moment was only the beginning. As the stakes surged higher and choices became a matter of survival, I couldn't shake the sense that a darker truth loomed ahead, one that would challenge everything we believed about loyalty, love, and the inescapable power of the past. The sirens continued to wail outside, but they felt like a distant echo compared to the turmoil radiating from Lena's presence. Her smile, once a familiar comfort, now twisted with a sinister edge that sent waves of dread through my body. Chase's hand started to shake in mine, and I could feel the weight of uncertainty smothering us. Lena, why are you here? Chase's voice trembled, the bravado of a moment ago crumbling like ash in our palms. Why do you think? Loyalty is only as strong as its weakest link, she taunted, her eyes glimmering with a mix of malice and amusement. And there's nothing weaker than a misguided ideal. Look at you all, banded together like some ragtag band of heroes. She laughed lightly, a stark contrast to the turmoil within us that I searched her face for any hint of the warmth we once shared, but her gaze was cold, dismissive. You betrayed us, I whispered, my voice cracking. How could you? Her laughter faded, and for a fleeting moment, I caught a glimpse of something softer. You think betrayal is so black and white? This isn't just about you, or Chase, or Clara. You're part of a larger game, and am merely repositioning the pieces. Chase stepped forward, his frame brimming with indignation. You've dragged us into this nightmare. Who do you work for? Lena chuckled lightly, as if marveling at his innocence. You really have no idea how deep this goes, do you? You're not pawns, you're the king and queen, and what's at stake is more than your little lives. The weight of her words settled like cement in my stomach, forming a nauseating knot of dread. Was there a greater plan swirling beyond our immediate danger? Could we be unwitting players in a game far older and sinister than we anticipated? Enough of this. Chase shouted, strained fury etching lines on his face. We need to go. As he yanked me toward the back exit, Lena's laughter resonated again, curling around us like smoke. You can run, but you cannot hide. Before this is over, you'll have to face the truth of who you really are. With that, she stepped back, mixing into the shadows like a wraith, her silhouette dissolving into the dimness of the hallway as we bolted through the door. The rush of fresh air hit us like a slap on the cheeks as we burst outside, the cacophony of police sirens converging like a marching band of uncertainty. Emily was waiting by a police car, her face filled with fear and relief. Thank God. They said they saw a suspicious figure moving this way. Where's Clara? I gasped, searching for the familiar figure amidst the chaos that I don't know. She was right behind us. Emily said, her voice trembling with urgency. Stay here. Chase ordered, turning to retrace our steps. I'll find her. No. We stick together. I pleaded, grabbing his arm, but his determination burned brighter than my fear. In this kind of danger, we have to adapt. He jerked free and charged back toward the building, leaving me and Emily standing in a swirling tempest of anxiety and helplessness, moments stretched into lifetimes as I paced, my heart racing wildly in my chest, dread pooling. The echoes of sirens were joined now with shouting from officers, the scene becoming a fractured symphony of chaos. "They'll find her," I repeated, although my voice lacked the conviction I hoped it held. "You have to believe that," Emily replied softly, wrapping her arms around herself in an attempt to shield against the cold night air, but I could see the fear flickering in her eyes. Just when the tension became unbearable, Chase returned, his expression dark and chiseled with anger. "She's gone. I couldn't find her anywhere." His words pierced through me, eliciting a fresh wave of terror as I realized we might have lost our fragile sisterhood in this fight against the unseen. "We can't abandon her," I yelled, the desperation clawing its way to the surface. "We have to help her." Chase shook his head, determination replacing despair. "We won't abandon anyone. But we need to regroup. We're jumping in blind, and Lena's games are more dangerous than we can even begin to understand." "It won't stop." Suddenly, a lone figure appeared at the far edge of the building. "Clara." I strained to get a better look, my heart lifting with relief. But as she ran toward us, the frantic look in her eyes turned to horror, and I could see she wasn't alone. Suddenly, the malevolent man from the doorway emerged, trailing behind her like a serpent coiling around its prey. "Clara, no!" I shouted, but before I could react, the world around us dimmed as he flung a darkness over her. The scream pierced my chest like a becoming reality, and as I looked into Clara's terrified eyes, time locked us in that moment, two souls bound by love but trapped under a suffocating veil of despair. "Walk willingly into the dark," the sinister man rasped, a greedy grin spreading across his face. "For only there will you truly learn the nature of your bonds," and with that, Clara vanished into the shadows of the impending chaos, leaving us with a silence so profound that it echoed louder than the sirens still blaring around us. Nothing felt right, and yet there I stood, torn between the relentless grip of the past and the ache of what could have been. The stakes now higher than ever, the truth lingered just beyond the horizon, lurking patiently as we braced ourselves for the cruel twists yet to come. The cold air stung my lungs as I staggered back, trying to process Clara's sudden disappearance, the sinister man's words haunting me like a ghost. I turned to Chase, whose face was a mask of fury and fear, and his jaw tightened, straining beneath the weight of the unknown. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice wavering. A million frantic thoughts raced through my mind, but the only thing that emerged was a deafening silence filled with our breathless panic. Chase clenched his fists, his knuckles whitening. "We don't have time to waste. We need to figure out what Lena meant." I shook my head in denial, a new wave of despair washing over me. "What if they hurt her? We can't just leave her with them." She's stronger than you think," he interrupted, his expression softening for a moment, as though our shared memories of Clara might linger in the depths of his heart. "We have to focus. We need to find her, yes, but we can't do it recklessly." Emily pulled her phone from her pocket, her fingers fumbling nervously. "The police, maybe they can help us?" she suggested tentatively. "Help?" Chase scoffed, shaking his head. "They'll only get in the way. They won't understand what's really happening here." The desperation in his tone mirrored the uncertainty swirling within me, making my heart feel like it was suspended in heavy, cold air. Before I could respond, a sudden light flickered from the far side of the street. A figure emerged from the shadows, a glint of something dangerous in their hand. My breath caught. It was Lena. "Looking for someone," she called out, her voice dripping with a cruel delight. "Why are you doing this?" I shouted back, the bravado masking the tremor in my own heart. "Why?" Such an innocent question. She stepped forward, her eyes reflecting the harsh glow of the streetlights. "It's all part of a greater plan, my dear. You, Chase, and Clara are crucial to everything that's happening." "You're significant." "Significant how?" Chase demanded, his voice carrying a sharp edge. The eternal question," Lena replied, spinning around theatrically, as if she reveled in our confusion. "But there are bigger forces at play, forces you cannot comprehend. You see, Clara is simply the key." Without her, she paused dramatically, letting the suspense throb in the air. "No one escapes this game," unscathed that I felt a chill creep down my spine. What game? What are you talking about? Think of it as a trial A revelation, she said with a maddening smile. You'll understand soon enough, but be careful, finding Clara is only the beginning. It's what happens next that will truly test your bonds and beliefs. As she turned to leave, I felt a reckless impulse rise within me. You're wrong about us. You think we'll turn on each other. We're stronger together. Lena looked back, amusement flickering in her eyes. Oh, sweet girl, you misunderstand. The real test was never about whether you turn on each other, it's about how hard the truth can hit when it reveals what lies beneath. You might be surprised by what you find in the dark, and just like that, she vanished into the night, leaving only twisted shadows behind, a haunting reminder of her words hanging in the air like a fog. I turned to Chase, uncertainty pooling between us. What does she mean? What truth? I don't know, he murmured, rubbing his temples as though trying to conjure clarity. But we need to keep moving. We need to think like her. What would be her next move? Emily's phone buzzed, a small burst of hope igniting in my chest. Maybe my parents know something, she said, glancing at the screen. They've been involved with things like this before, even if they don't know it. Things like what? I pressed, concern knotting in my stomach. Things that connect people to places, she replied hesitantly, unable to fully articulate the shadows of her past. Organizations that deal in secrets. What if they know where Clara is? Chase interjected, a new spark of determination lighting in his eyes. It's worth a try. Let's not waste any more time. Just as Emily began to dial, a commotion erupted from down the street, drawing our attention. A group of men dressed in black approached, a sense of urgency in their steps. At first, I thought they were the police, but as they drew closer, the uniformity and malice in their gaits betrayed a different intent. Run! Chase shouted, grabbing my wrist before I could process the danger. We sprinted through the shadows as the men pursued us, their footsteps a relentless drumbeat of pursuit. My heart raced with each footfall, the weight of loss pressing down harder than ever. Clara, potentially in the grip of twisted forces, and now we had added our own peril to the mix. Over here. Chase gestured toward an alley, and we ducked into the dimly lit passageway just as shouts erupted behind us. Instantly, chaos unfurled around us. The world dimmed, shadows loomed larger than life, and the only sound was the pounding of adrenaline rushing through my veins. As we huddled together against the cold brick wall, I could feel the tremor of fear weave through our bodies. Well, figure this out, I whispered, needing to believe the words despite the uncertainty that swirled like a tempest. Yeah, Chase agreed, but his eyes haunted me, shadows flickering in the depths, as if even he began to doubt the strength of our cornered trio. And then the darkness erupted, a sharp whistle, cutting through the night air, ricocheted off the walls. My heart sank as we braced ourselves for what was yet to come, and in that moment, the pieces fell together in an alarming realization. The game was only beginning, and the next moves would require sacrifices none of us could foresee. As the shadows enclosed around us, I knew we would soon confront the ultimate truth, one that could shatter our bonds completely. In the cramped confines of the alleyway, the air felt impossibly thick. I tried to steady my breath, but the chill seeped into my bones, mingling with the fear that prickled at the back of my mind. Chase loomed beside me, his reflection of uncertainty a mirror to my own turmoil. Emily, shaking slightly, stood with wide eyes, her phone clutched tightly in her hand, a lifeline that felt increasingly fragile. A rapid series of footsteps drew closer, and I could hear the muffled voices of the men trailing us. The echoes of their pursuit surged within me, igniting memories of laughter shared with Clara, the warmth of her carefree spirit contrasting sharply against the current darkness. As Chase leaned forward, scanning the street beyond our narrow hiding spot, I whispered, what if they know about Clara? What if they've hurt her already? Don't think like that, Chase replied, his voice an urgent whisper. Lena was right about one thing, there's a bigger picture here, and we need to outsmart them. Emily, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. What if I call them? My parents. They might have some way to distract them, or even help us find Clara, she suggested. It's risky, I cautioned, anxiety roiling inside me. What if they trace your call? She hesitated, weighing the very real possibility of endangering her family against the chance to save Clara. "I can't sit here doing nothing," she whispered, her determination flickering like a candle's flame amidst the chaos. Chase frowned but seemed to understand Emily's urgency. As the footsteps grew fainter, indicating the men had veered off momentarily, I waved my hands quietly to garner their focus. "Okay, let's give it a shot," I decided, my resolve sharpening. "But don't say anything that could give us away." With bated breath, Emily texted her parents instead of calling, typing a frantic message conveying just enough urgency without drawing unwanted attention. As she tapped the screen, I glanced uneasily down the alley, the shadows pooling ominously ahead. Moments turned into an eternity, the uncertainty gnawing at my insides. Come on, I muttered under my breath, my thoughts racing. I couldn't shake the vision of Clara in that sinister man's grip. Where was she? Was she scared? I felt so helpless. Then, suddenly, a reply pinged back on Emily's phone. A single line flashed across the screen: "Meet us at the old warehouse." Well, explain everything. Relief surged momentarily, but it soon entwined with fresh concern. What do you think they meant? I asked, dread creeping back like a dark fog. "Let's just go," Chase urged, the intensity in his voice leaving no room for debate. "The longer we stay here, the more time they have to figure out where we went." "Wait," Emily said, her brow furrowed. "If we're heading to the warehouse, we need a plan. It could be a trap, but we needed it to be more than just a hurried escape. We needed a way to breach the uneven ground between hope and horror." I nodded, embracing her caution. "What if we split up? One of us could approach the warehouse, while the others distract the men if they come back." Chase mulled it over, clearly uneasy. "And what if we're cornered?" "I don't know," I admitted, my heart racing with an urge to protect all of us. "But if they're at the warehouse waiting for us, it may be the only chance we have." Chase glanced at me, uncertainty swirling in his expression. "Fine. I'll go with you, then," he decided, clenching his jaw. "Emily, you keep an eye on the streets. We'll signal you if anything goes wrong, and if we catch sight of them, you run." There was a spark of camaraderie despite the fear hanging over USA's subtle but palpable thread binding us together. Emily's eyes brimmed with unseen tears, and she gave a faint nod, the weight of what we faced settling upon her shoulders. As we made our way toward the street that led to the old warehouse, an eerie silence enveloped us. The shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, reminders of the malice lurking just beyond our reach. I could feel the tension coiling tighter, and each step felt weighted, a grave journey toward the unknown. Suddenly, a burst of commotion erupted from the nearby block, shouting voices mingling with the roar of a car engine. Time seemed to slow as the realization clawed at me: the men were back. "Run!" I yelled, my instinct kicking in. We'd fought too hard to lose everything now. Together, we bolted toward the structure, a Hida graffitied fortress of secrets, declining paint mingling with hidden memories of those who sought refuge behind its walls. Bursting through the heavy door, we paused only a moment, panting as we surveyed the dimly lit interior. Dust motes floating in the air felt like echoes of laughter, moments lost to darker times. But there was no time for nostalgia. The realization that this could be a trap surged within me like an insatiable tide. "Do you hear that?" Chase asked, his eyes darting around, searching for the source of the muffled noises. My pulse quickened as I strained to listen. It was faint, almost like a whisper intertwined with desperate breaths and soft murmurings that seemed unwelcoming. I stepped closer to the sound, my heart hammering with uncertainty. That whisper felt too familiar, yet so distant as it wove through the shadows. "Clara?" I called out, my voice cracking against the hollow walls. The silence faltered for a moment, before retreating back into echoes. I could feel the coolness of dread wash over me as my breath caught. What had we walked into, truly? Had we just stepped deeper into Lena's cruel game? The dawning reality began to crystallize within my mind, a chilling thought aligned with the murmurs. What if Clara wasn't just missing? What if she had become part of something darker? As dread slithered around my heart, the door behind us burst open, and all semblance of hope faded as shadows surged forth, blocking our only retreat. "Looks like you found your way home," one of the men said, a sinister smile etched upon his face. The enormity of that moment flooded over me like a tidal wave. A rush of adrenaline shot to my feet, urging me to run, but I felt paralyzed, pinned beneath the weight of despair and fear swirling around us. The threat of danger loomed large, but the chilling echoes of Clara's possible fate gnawed at my heart, marking every second with the agony of uncertainty. Out of my way. Chase shouted, gathering determination from the depth of his fears as he shoved forward, our bodies a shield against the dark figures advancing toward us. I clutched his arm, refusing to be separated from him, from my only hope of escape. This was no time for surrender, we were far too close to fall victim to this nightmare. Stop right there. One of the men commanded, a cruel grin stretching across his face, delighting in the turmoil he caused. Chase and I exchanged a panicked glance, but there was no turning back. We had to find Clara, we had to protect her at all costs. With a surge of energy, we plunged deeper into the warehouse, the shadowy corners offering both refuge and peril. I could hear Chase's breath quicken, the urgency palpable between us. Clara. Can you hear me? I called, desperation punctuating my voice as we raced forward, heedless of the dangers lurking in the darkness. The air was thick with dust, and the light from the street lamps outside struggled to penetrate the murkiness within. The whispers grew clearer, teasing me with the promise of familiarity. Lena, I shouted, the name spilling from my lips like a plea. You think you can control us? You're wrong. We're not powerless. The declaration hung in the air, fierce with conviction. The fighting spirit, one of the men laughed mocking, taunting. You'll need all that bravado, darling, when you confront the truth. I pressed onward, fueled by my desire to reach Clara, a determination blazing in my chest. Chase half turned toward me, concern pooling in his eyes. We have to be careful. Her safety first, he cautioned, the reality of our mission grounding his fierce nature. But with a few more steps, we stumbled upon an open room. The echoes of Clara's voice bore through the walls, threading hope and fear in equal measure. I paused, pressing against a wall beside the doorframe, heart pounding furiously. I think I heard her. I gasped, excitement surging through me despite the foreboding atmosphere. I pushed the door slightly and peeked through, holding my breath. What lay ahead was chaos. Clara was huddled within a small group of shady figures, wild eyes darting around, frantically straining against bonds that held her captive. The sight drove daggers into my heart. She looked terrified, and knowing that made my blood boil. Clara. Chase pulled me back, tightening his hold on my arm, his presence both anchoring and infuriating. Wait. We need a plan. We can't just rush in there. But how could we wait when Clara was in danger? She's not safe, Chase. We have to help her now. I could hardly keep the tremor from my voice, the need to protect my sister overwhelming every rational thought. Together, we stepped back from the doorway, weighing our options with urgency thickening the air. That's the problem with you naive people, a voice echoed, and my stomach twisted as I saw Lena gliding out of the shadows, her hair shimmering in the dim light like a ghost. You think you can save someone from the very web you've willingly walked into? I felt Chase tense beside me, his body vibrating with determination, the sight of Lena igniting a fire of fury within him as he stepped forward. You orchestrated all this. You think manipulating our lives is a game? It's not manipulation, it's survival, she spat, her gaze tearing into us with a cold precision. What is true survival if not sacrificing for the greater end? I'm offering a chance to escape this mess. Do you want to prove your worth, or do you want to watch as your sister suffers in the shadows? No, I said firmly, stepping forward, bolstered by Chase's unyielding resolve beside me. This is not your game to manipulate. We will not let you frighten us into submission. My voice rang with defiance, the truth of our bond glowing fiercely like a beacon in a storm. Her smile faltered for a fleeting moment, revealing cracks in her composure. Together, you think that makes you powerful? She glared, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind, calculating her next move. You're all fools, playing house while the real game unfolds in ways none of you can imagine. Just then, a wild scream erupted from the room where Clara was held captive. It pierced through the dark, turning my heart to ice. Clara! I shouted again, instinct making my body surge forward, ignoring the warnings in my mind. Chase grabbed me, anchoring my feet to the cold cement. Wait! We need to keep our wits about us. But as the whispers intensified, I felt the swell of desperation fill me. The revelation that we were not merely straying into Lena's trap but rather entangled in a web spun by dark machinations sent me spiraling. I didn't care, all I could think about was Clara, her ache and fear mirrored deep within my soul. Lena's laughter echoed again, mocking us. You think this is a game of courage? Misguided in wanting to play savior? It all crumbles when faced with what truly lurks beneath the surface. And what do you think will happen when Clara willingly joins the shadows? The weight of those words hit me like a punch. Closure felt just beyond reach, mingled with dread. Caught in the crossfire of conflicting emotions, the shadows seemed to pulse with meaning. There has to be a way to break her free, I murmured to Chase, words heavy with desperation. We can't let her fall to Lena's influence. Then we find a way, he said, determination mixing with his fierce hope. Let's create an opening, something they'll never expect. Chase's gaze met mine, steady and undeniable. We're stronger together. Lena underestimates that. With hesitance, I nodded, ready to face the tempest ahead. Together, we edged closer toward the chaotic murmurs, the shadows parting like the sea as we sharpened our focus on what lay ahead. Clara deserved freedom, and we together would shatter the chains that threatened to bind her. In a swift motion, Chase jerked open the door, stepping into the thrumming charge of uncertainty. Clara! He called out, voice steady, plunging us forward into the heart of the storm. As the crowd turned, all eyes fixating on our resolute stand, the thick air crackled with tension. Lena's smirk faded, the sudden intensity of our resolve palpable. So, the heroes have decided to reveal themselves, she said, her demeanor shifting, the spotlight of control fraying at the edges. My heart raced as I locked eyes with Clara. Her face illuminated by the dim overhead lights felt like a lighthouse, drawing us nearer. Don't be afraid. I shouted, fighting through the weight of Lena's conscious presence looming over us. And for that split second, the world fell away as Clara's expression shone with glimpses of recognition and hope. The binding thread of our shared love ignited a determination so fierce, it brought forth light into the encroaching darkness. Fight, Clara. We're here. I pleaded, feeling the fervor of unconditional love flood through me, and just as the shadows turned to swallow us, Clara stood tall against the men encircling her. I refuse to be a pawn in this game any longer. She declared, her voice ringing out fiercely, the defiance within her the spark of uprising that broke the chains of fear. In that moment, the room rippled with power. Lena's expression shifted from amusement to confusion. We were no longer doing her bidding, we were ready to reclaim our fates despite the chaos that threatened to drown us. Love conquers all, Lena. Even your twisted schemes. I shouted, pulling Chase and Clara closer, ready to burn through the darkness enveloping us. As the tension reached its peak, the figures around us shifted, uncertainty creeping in as we united a force greater than any they could anticipate. Love, unwavering and relentless, pierced through the shadows, illuminating a path toward freedom we had only just begun to forge. We're taking back what's ours. Chase shouted, and in that moment, I realized the truth. We were no longer players in this game, you were the architects of our fate, fiercely united in love, standing tall against the tempestuous night. As we moved together, ready to face whatever might come next, I knew that no matter the struggle ahead, we would fight. The bonds of love held us firm, and through it all, I was certain that we would find our own resolution, no matter the cost, and as our voices melded into one, echoing hope into the depths of darkness, I couldn't help but feel that perhaps love was enough, a fierce tide strong enough to wash away the chains binding us and carry us into the dawn. In that moment, I knew we would find our way home, no matter where the path led us. Together, I whispered, and let the light pierce through the darkness once and for all.